Alright, what's going on everybody? This is my first video on YouTube. I've had a lot of members from system levels asking me if I could start doing some YouTube videos going over different trades I've taken with the dynamic profit levels, with the AutoTrend system, and with the setups from the masterclass. So I've decided, all right, let's start doing some videos and going over all of those different strategies that we have over at system levels. So for this video, I'm gonna go over the AMD trade that we took yesterday using the AutoTrend system, and I'm gonna go over it step by step, exactly as it played out, and I'm gonna discuss my thinking behind this trade and basically how it all played out. Obviously, you can see here on the screen the final result. We got the ATS long signal here, we entered long here, we took profits once, two, three times using the dynamic profit levels, and then that was it for this trade. I posted it on Twitter, and I thought I'll make an overview video, or rather a walkthrough video going over the thinking process behind this trade. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and delete all of these annotations here, and we're gonna draw them again together one by one, right? So I'm gonna take the replay function of TradingView and I'm gonna place it right here, all right? Because that was a point that I first started looking at this. Actually, I was not actually looking at it because all of this was in pre-market. I don't trade the pre-market. I wait for market to open and for the ATS to start giving me some signals. So all of this was pre-market. You can see the market opened here at 9:30 a.m. New York time. Obviously, I'm in Europe, so that was the afternoon for me. So at that point, I was doing nothing. I was looking at other things. I wasn't really paying attention on AMD until the ADS gave me a buy signal. So this is a 2 minutes chart, and I have the dynamic profit levels at 60. I was not looking at the dynamic profit levels at that point because I didn't have an entry, so we can just remove them. I only turn on the dynamic profit levels if I get a signal from the AutoTrend system, right? So let's go over we're gonna go over the replay bar by bar. So I'm gonna replay it manually, okay? So we can go over the rules together. So market opened, no signal yet. ATS is red, so we are in a downtrend. We're not in this downtrend, so I'm not really looking to take any trades using the ATS strategies. Now here is where we get our first long signal. You can see how we have the first blue bar after all of these red bars. That's our signal to go long. That's our signal to go long from the ATS. This is the bar that created this signal. So this is the signal bar, right? Because this is the bar that is responsible for this trend change down here, right? So that's our signal bar. Now, according to the rules of our 4 strategies, we have 4 strategies that we trade with the ATS. And for this one, I use the strategy number 4, which utilizes the dynamic profit levels. But for all 4 strategies, we need to see confirmation by price after we get a signal from the ATS. Because right now, the ATS is telling us, hey, the trend is changing from red to blue, so from down to up, right? And that's a heads up. That's a heads up that it's giving us. But we need to wait for confirmation by price. And what do I mean by confirmation? Since this is our signal bar, you can zoom in right here so you can really see it. Let's blow it up here so you can really see it. So this is the signal bar, right? This is the high of the bar, and this is the low of this signal bar. The high and the low is here, right? For us to have an entry, right now we have a signal, but for us to have an entry, a trade entry for a long, since this is a long signal, we need to see the next bar, either the immediate next bar or any of the next bars after that, we need to see them going above the high of the signal bar and breaking that high. We don't need them to close above the high, we simply need them to break the high of the signal bar. So this high right here, right? So if I can also just like mark it. So this is the high right here. All we need to see is a next bar after this one. We need to see a next bar coming and breaking above the high. Because very often what will happen is the ATS will give us a long or a short signal, but price will never confirm it. So sometimes you will see the ATS turning blue for just one bar and then returning back to red. That is not a losing trade because we never got confirmation by price, right? So that's important to keep in mind because we've had several people buying the ATS right away and start using it without going over the strategies, and they're like, oh, I'm getting some conflicting signals, or I'm getting some back and forth. Yeah, sure, but remember, you don't need to follow each signal. You need to see confirmation by price, and by confirmation I mean we need to see a next bar going above the high of the signal bar for a long. Obviously it's the opposite for a short. We need to see it going above the signal bar to have a confirmation so we can go long. So at that point I got the alert, I open up AMD and I see we have a signal, and at that point I simply place my order to be filled. That's a stop order to be filled if price comes and breaks above the high of my signal bar right here. So obviously that happens right away. So the next bar, as you can see, opened here. It moved up, so it broke above our signal bar, and then it closed here. We don't really care where it closes or anything like this. All we care is that it comes and breaks above the high of the signal bar. So at that point I am long, right? That is I have my signal, I have my confirmation, the ATS told me to go long, price told me that it agrees with the ATS, so it is going higher. So at that point, that's all I need to make a trade. So my entry is here. And the stop loss, according to strategy number 4, we're using strategy number 4 with the ATS, the stop loss needs to be placed just below the last swing high before we got our signal. So what's the last swing high? Well, it was right here, because as you can see, price went up. Let's mark it. Price went up, and then it went down, up, down, and then up again. And that was the last swing low that it put in before our signal to go long. So my stop loss needs to go down here. And now that I have my stop loss, I can go ahead and turn on my targets, right? So it's good to have a stop loss, but where do we take profits? At that point, I need to turn on the dynamic profit levels, which is part of the AutoTrend System package. So if I turn those on, then I get my profit targets. These levels are automatically plotted on my chart, and they're automatically adjusted to the volatility of the chart at that point in time. So if prices start, expanding, so we start putting big long candles, then the dynamic profit levels will also expand, and the distance between each of them will become wider. And obviously the reverse is also true. If prices start contracting, then also the dynamic profit levels will also contract to reflect that change in volatility. So it's a great way to keep them as targets, as realistic targets on our charts. All right, so I have that. So I know that since we entered here, the immediate next dynamic profit line is too close to my entry. So according to the rules of strategy number 4 that we're using for this trade, we need to pick the immediate next DPL or dynamic profit level after this one. So we will simply ignore this one because it's just too close to my entry. You see, my entry is here. The next dynamic profit level is just here, right? So it's way too close for me to take profits here. So I will simply ignore this profit level, and I will turn my attention to the immediate next one. So here. So for my first profit target, I'm targeting this dynamic profit level. My stop loss is here, and let's see how it progresses. All right, so we hit our first target, and when we hit our first target with the dynamic profit levels, according to strategy number 4, according to the rules of strategy number 4, we need to bring our stop loss all the way up to break even. So to our entry, to our original entry. At that point, we have gotten paid on our first partial. So in this case, I'm closing my trades in thirds. So I sold 1/3 of my position as we hit our first DPL, our first profit target. And at that point, I can completely eliminate the risk of that trade because I can raise my stop loss from its original position here to now break even. So I have eliminated the risk from that trade. I can no longer lose money on this trade. What I'm doing is essentially I am protecting my capital. Since price is agreeing with me, since the market is agreeing with me that we want to go, it wants to go higher, right? It agrees with the AutoTrend system that it does want to go higher. Then at that point, I have sufficient information and I have sufficient movement for me to bring my stop loss to break even. I cannot start right away with my stop loss at break even. That doesn't make sense, right? That's impossible. So I need to see some movement for me to raise my stop loss. And since, this is system levels, we have systematic ways of doing everything, right? So according to the rules of strategy number 4, if we hit our first target, so our first dynamic profit level, then I can move my stop loss to break even, but not before. So when price was, when price was here, then I wouldn't have been able to move my stop loss yet. We need to hit the first dynamic profit level, and then and only then I can move my stop loss to break even. So I hope that makes sense. I know I'm repeating a lot, but I want this to make sense because it's important. All right, so at that point, let's go ahead and mark things. Actually, I was supposed to annotate everything together. So here we got our signal. Actually, it was here. This is our signal from the AutoTrend system, right? Telling us to go long. So let's go ahead and mark it ADS long signal. So we got that, right? Then, whoops. Then we had our entry long right here. Let's put a little arrow to indicate that the stop loss went down here originally, and we have at this point in time we have reached our first profit target. So we sold 1/3 of our positions on our first DPL, our first dynamic profit level. So then we see if we can hit the second target, which is up here. At this point, we're good to go on our trade. We cannot lose on this trade. And right now we have just hit our second profit target right here. You see, right here, price went and hit the second dynamic profit level. So we have just reached our second profit target. At that point, we have just one final piece of our position left. So 1/3 left. We have gotten paid on 2/3, and at that point we need to see price going above and hitting our third dynamic profit level. At that point, I will sell my last third of my position and that trade will be officially over. So that happens just a few minutes later, right here, at which point we hit our third profit target. Right here. So there you have it. That's basically it. That trade at that point was over. I don't care if price continues going higher. I don't care if it hits another profit target higher. At that point, I followed my rules, and it worked out really, really nicely. We hit 3 profit targets, and I'm very happy with that. So as you can see, to summarize, we got a signal from the ADS here. This was the signal, signal candle. We waited for confirmation, so we waited for the next candle to go and break above the high of the signal candle, and then we got long. Originally we had placed our stop loss. I cannot bring it down now. Cannot bring down the stop loss. But originally the location of the stop loss was here. Let's make it red so you can see it. That was the original position of the stop loss. When we reach the first profit target, so here, when we reach that first profit target, then we moved the stop loss from down here to all the way up to break even. So at that point we had eliminated the risk of that trade here actually. So at that point we had eliminated the risk from that trade, and then we simply held the other 2/3 of our position for the second and third dynamic profit level targets, which were both hit shortly afterwards. So that's basically it. That's a quick review of a long trade using the AutoTrend system and the dynamic profit levels to trade very, very systematically and stress-free. So thanks for watching. I think I will continue doing these little trade review videos. Lots of people have been asking me for them, and I do think they are a helpful addition to the tools and the strategy videos we have on our website. And I hope you like them, and if not, let me know. Give me your feedback here on YouTube or on Twitter or on the website if you're a member of the ATS. And yeah, I'll be happy to know your thoughts basically. So thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.